What is Barment and should you do it yourself? Hi, this is Julia M. Spencer. I'm a real estate advisor, investor, and your #1 source for real estate advice online. Welcome to my kitchen studio here today, and my channel is dedicated to teach you anything and everything there is to know about real estate investing. I have been an investor for over 25 years. I've written and published a bunch of ebooks on how to do all kinds of things in real estate investing, anything from how to be a landlord, how to do tax sale foreclosure investing, how to get creative financing, and all kinds of other things. So don't forget to go to my website at juliamspencer.com. It's at the bottom of this video. Subscribe there to make sure that you get your free guide to real estate investing today. Also, I have a radio show, so make sure you check out my radio show. I'm actually going to publish my finished radio shows also here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe here on YouTube. Also, any kind of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you may find me, I'll be there. Just type in my name, Julia M. Spencer. And in this video, I wanted to talk about the Barment process. What does that mean? How do you do it, and should you do it yourself? So this question came about because I got a message from a customer and a subscriber who I've been talking to for a couple days now, but I think she's also a realtor locally here in Georgia. So my question is going to be a little bit biased towards the state of Georgia. However, you can also apply it to other states. You just have to make sure you check with your attorney and other real estate professionals to verify my information. I know the information here in my state, of course, the best, but it's pretty similar in most other states, I'm pretty sure, you know. But of course, as always, I say this in my videos, I am not an attorney. I'm also not a realtor, not a broker. I don't have any kind of licenses. I'm a pure real estate investor. I do this for my own profit, and I give you this advice, and you can take it or leave it. It comes from many, many years of experience. So let's get to the topic. What is Barment? Should you do it yourself? And, you know, what do you even do about it? So I got a letter yesterday from the subscriber. She said, what do you think about this letter? And she sent me a Barment letter. And previous to that, we had a conversation where she sent me a question. And she said, have you, I've bought a tax sale foreclosure in the state of Georgia. And I guess she contacted the owner, and the owner just wants to relinquish it to her. And she asked the owner to do a quiet title action, which is this really long, drawn-out, basically lawsuit to sue anybody and everybody who has an interest in your tax sale foreclosure and quiet their title, your title, so nobody can come later on and claim the property from you. And I guess the owner of this tax sale foreclosure property that just lost his tax sale foreclosure property to this investor who sent me the message basically said, oh, we don't need to do a quiet title, we can just do a letter of betterment. And so she sent me a message and she's like, hey, have you ever heard of a letter of betterment? And the first thing I'm like, I've been in real estate for a really, really long time. I have never heard of a letter of betterment. But as always, I check in my books, I check with other investors, I put the question out there. Maybe I just don't know something yet. And also it's a great opportunity for me to learn. But the fact of the matter is, once I checked on it, nobody ever heard of it. The only best answer I got from a very seasoned investor who's been in the business since the 70s, since when I was born, basically said that different people use different terms for closing documents, or the instruments of conveyance is what they call it. So you can have all kinds of weird attorney documents, I guess law documents, to transfer a property from one person to the other, and a letter of betterment may be just another version of a quiet title or whatever. And neither one of us have ever heard of it though. What I realized the next day is, actually I told her this, and I said, why don't you have this owner send us an example? I want to see what this letter of betterment is. And what it turned out to be is it was not a letter of betterment, it was actually a Barment a proceeding, and she wanted to agree with the previous owner to do a barment. And of course now all my flags and red lights and everything went up, because I know obviously what barment is. But basically what barment is when you purchase a tax sale foreclosure at courthouse steps, or at any kind of auction, after the redemption period is up. This applies to lien states. After the redemption period is up and you've not made an agreement with the previous owner, or haven't gotten the rights to the property some other way, such as a quiet title, then you can go and hire your own attorney as the investor and ask them to do a barment of that property. A barment proceeding is basically what it is. And that just means that the previous owner, after the redemption period is up and all the proper steps were taken, is now barred from ever claiming that property back into their name. And what you're doing as an investor, you're hiring an attorney to make a barment, or basically proceed with a barment against any previous owners. It could be the current owner, it could be their descendants, it could be anybody that has a claim in the property that you purchased at the tax sale foreclosure. So for her to come to me and tell me that she actually made this agreement with the owner, it doesn't make any sense, because the owner is the one that's going to be barred from the property. They're not the ones that go into the barment agreement. The second issue I had with that the investor purchased the property in November, and she wrote, I guess she got the barment letter from somewhere, and kind of just changed the dates, kind of what we do. I do this too, it's not a bad thing to do. But you go to the courthouse and you find whatever document that you need, you change the dates and the information and the address on it, and then you make it your own document basically. You use it as a template. And that's exactly what she did. She used the barment letter. She said that she was going to bar the previous owner from ever claiming this property again, and it's only a month after the tax sale. So the problem with that is, in the state of Georgia, we have a 1-year redemption period. You cannot do any legal action against the property until as an investor, until the redemption period is up. You can't go to the property, you can't trespass. I mean, technically, you can't even do any kind of barment proceeding. You can't do anything. There's not any attorney in the state that will do anything legally for you as an investor until that redemption period is up. And that's for good reason, because it's for the protection of the previous owner, so that they are given some time in peace and quiet without disturbance, so that they may be able to find the money to pay you back. So you can't do a barment before the redemption period is up. It's not possible. And you can't do it yourself. And the reason I told him here, this is the last step. This is why I told her, please, as an investor, do not do a barment yourself. Do not do it. Unless you're an attorney, hire somebody. And I've made several videos on YouTube how much it costs. It can be anywhere from $650. I paid up to $1,200 per property. You can negotiate the price, of course, with your attorney. However, the attorney is going to charge you a certain fee plus their expenses. And what are the expenses? Well, for proper barment, and just imagine in your head what a barment is. You actually are restricting any previous owners, not just the one that's on the paper right now, but any of them that may approach you in the future to try to redeem the property. You're barring them from ever claiming that property back, simply by stepping back into the picture and paying you back the taxes that you paid. And you need this because you're going to be able to, if you start any action on the property, like a quiet title, or you put a tenant in there, or you take possession, all these things are in jeopardy if somebody just walks into the picture and pays you back the taxes. And they can do that even after the year is up. So after the year is up, the redemption period, you have to do barment. But there is a process, and the process in the state of Georgia involves that you have to first identify the property, you have to do a title search, you have to identify every single owner that that may have an interest in the property. And attorneys have special software for this. These are real estate attorneys. They don't just go to the courthouse and just look. They have software that runs this, and they can get information that you may not be able to get as an individual investor. You can do a basic title search, on a piece of property, and I've made videos about this, but some of the stuff that attorneys find you may not be able to find. Second, you need to advertise in the local newspaper that you have notified these people and that you've given them proper time to pay you back. So once the title search is done, and everybody that was found on that title search needs to be notified by the attorney through the serving of a specific paper through the sheriff. And the serving action, depending on how many owners you have, the expenses can go quite high if you have a lot of owners. But depending on how much that costs, that's the expenses that I'm talking about. And these previous owners will have to be served by a sheriff. The sheriff has to actually find them, give them a paper, or pin it to their address, or whatever the process is. The sheriff has a specific process for this, and it has to be done by a sheriff. It's not something you can do as an investor. And last but not least, it has to be advertised in the legal organ of that county. So that would be a newspaper. And of course you had to run that ad for 4 consecutive weeks. That is also something that costs money. And at the end of those 4 weeks or 5 weeks, nobody came forward and paid you back. At this point, he or she or the owner would have to pay back the taxes that you paid plus the penalty. It's actually going to be probably a higher penalty after the year is up in the state of Georgia. It's 30%. They also have to pay the expenses that have so far been paid to the attorney, and the attorney then of course pays the sheriff and the advertising costs and everything else and collects his own fee, and everything is added. And if the original owner doesn't come back and pay that, then the attorney will gather all this paperwork, all this evidence that everybody was notified, that we've searched for every owner has been properly notified through a sheriff, and we advertised it in a paper for the whole world to see, or for the whole public to see basically. And after that, the attorney will gather all that information, and then they file it at the courthouse with the Barment notice. And once that's filed at the courthouse, everything is final and done. You get a special date, because there's obviously a date by when the owner can contact the attorney to pay up. And after that date now, the Barment is final. So you cannot do this as an individual investor. And I strongly advise to hire an attorney to do this for you. Now, you can negotiate an attorney for a lower cost. You can actually, what I've done is I've collected several of these properties and gave them all at once to an attorney and told them to give me like a multiple property discount, I guess. And you can swing that however you want, but if you do it yourself, the cost will be very close to what an attorney has to pay in expenses anyways, and it's just not worth the hassle. And on top of that, it's not just a hassle. The fact is, you want to do it right. You want to do it legally right. There has to be no flaw in any of that protocol of properly notifying, properly advertising, and going through an attorney who's a reputable person to do this, Barment. You want to have all your ducks in the row, that if ever there's an owner that comes and wants to claim that property back from you, they really don't stand a chance. And I can tell you from experience that the court system these days does most certainly give advantage to previous owners, and they do not like tax investors taking properties from previous owners. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you can't get the property, but you have to follow the right steps. As an investor, you are at the disadvantage, so it's your job to do it perfectly right. You cannot do this yourself, and I strongly recommend against that. So I hope this video made sense. I'm going to add this to my next ebook on tax sale foreclosures. I actually just published one. It's called How to Make More Money with Tax Sale Foreclosure Investing. You can get that on my website, juliamspencer.com. Also download the previous one, How to Make Money with Tax Sale Foreclosure Investing. They're both on my products page. They're on my ebooks page on the little tab on the left when you go to this website right here. And go ahead and check that out. But you definitely, if you want to get into tax sale foreclosure investing, you need to get smart about these things. You can't just wing it. You can't just get some form from a courthouse and just edit it and make it yours. You have to understand the entire process, the protocol, the steps, especially when it comes to legal stuff. And that is my advice for you today. I hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you investing very successfully soon. Don't forget juliamspencer.com. Subscribe there today. Have a great day.
For your free guide to real estate investing, visit juliamspencer.com.